with our House Transportation Public Safety budget today, and we will start with our budget recommendations today. Let's get started with Abstractors Board of Examiners. Alrighty. Can I get a motion to approve the governor's recommendation in FY 2024? Can I get a second? Representative Ellis seconds. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no? All right, we will go with the governor's recommendation on FY 24. Can I get a motion to go with the governor's recommendation on FY 25? Second? Second by Representative Carr. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no? All right, that will close our budget recommendation on Abstractors Board of Examiners. We will open the budget recommendation on Board of Technical Professions. And can I get a motion to move the governor's rec on FY 24? Can I get a second? Second by Representative Hoy. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no? All right, can I get a motion to go with the governor's rec on FY 25? Can I get a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no? That was easy. All right, we will close the budget rec for Board of Technical Professions, and we will move into our informational briefing with the Kansas Department of Transportation. I believe we have the secretary. Thanks for joining us.
All right, sound check. All we go. Good. All right. All right. Well, thank you for the invitation today to give you guys an update on KDOT, and then I'll also provide an update on the IKE Transportation Program, which is our 10-year transportation program. We are 3.5 years into it right now. So talk a little bit about some of the milestones that we're at right now and some progress that we've been able to make in the program. Once again, I'd just like to thank you all for allowing time to provide an update on KDOT. Our agency oversees an expansive scope of transportation assets, projects, and programs impacting all citizens across the entire state. We are proud that we have such a direct connection to our citizens and the communities that we serve, and that we keep Kansans moving. We respect the tax dollars that we are charged with spending. We make prudent decisions, and we honor our commitments. And it's my honor to be here today on behalf of KDOT and all of its employees. And is this okay? There we go. And this is KDOT's mission. Our mission is to provide a safe, reliable, and innovative statewide transportation system that works for Kansans today and into the future. As the secretary, I keep the agency's mission front in mind, and I regularly make sure that we are doing everything that we can to contribute to that mission. I'm proud to say that since the IKE Transportation Program was passed in the spring of 2020, KDOT has been working hard towards this mission and delivering for Kansans. So often during these presentations, I will talk a lot about numbers and budgets, but first of all, I want to talk about people, and specifically the people at KDOT. KDOT right now is about 2,200 strong, and we really serve all across the state. And it's important to note that because when we have large statewide events, like what we had in early January, where we had a snowstorm that really covered the entire state, required mobilization of all of our crews, you see the power of having crews all across the state, having people all across the state in nearly every county. Specifically in Western Kansas, we saw some very, very large impacts to that storm. We had to close numerous roads down. In fact, almost every state highway and county road was closed in Western Kansas for a period of time during that snowstorm. Our crews were able to mobilize and get them back open much faster than what we had anticipated and really keep people moving. I just want to say publicly, I'm very proud of our crews, what they do, how they keep Kansans moving. For Kansas to be successful, our communities must also be successful. As part of the IKE program, KDOT has initiated many community-based programs that can help provide practical solutions to complex local problems. In 2023, KDOT awarded more than $127 million to fund local projects that improve airports, bridges, rails, roadways, and broadband access. We understand that navigating all of our local programs can be challenging. So last year, we took the step of providing a one-stop shop for our communities to access KDOT local programs, what we call our KDOT Local Opportunities Guide. The guide provides key information about our programs, including the purpose of the program manager, and the timing that we would be soliciting applications for the program. This will be an invaluable tool for those that are applying for KDOT local programs. And in fact, in just the past couple of weeks, since I've talked a lot more about this guide, I've had numerous cities reach out to me to get more information about this and to get this in their hands. This really will be an important tool for our communities. So if you all need copies of this for your constituents, just please let us know. They will be out there for you. In a moment, I will highlight some of these community-based programs that we were able to keep going. But first, I want to talk about our local consult. As part of the IKE legislation, KDOT is required to go across the state and collect input from citizens every 2 years in a process that we call local consult. And in 2023, that was our year to do that. This level of statewide public involvement is unique in the country. And one of my big takeaways from the 2023 local consult is how much the citizens of Kansas appreciate us coming to not just tell them what we are planning to do, but listen to what their priorities are so that we can redirect any of our particular projects or programs. The local consult process starts with a list of potential projects. Some of them are recommended by communities, others by KDOT. Projects are evaluated and scored based on crash history, current and projected congestion, economic impact, engineering, and other factors. We then take into consideration the regional priorities before we select projects to be added to our development pipeline. One thing that continues to come up in these meetings is KDOT's scoring process for these projects. At my direction, during the summer of 2024, KDOT will engage key partners and stakeholders in a project scoring task force with the goal of having information for broader discussion at our 2025 local consult. I'm committed to this being a collaborative process, which will help prioritize project selection for IKE and beyond. And just a couple of notes about what we were able to take to local consult and what we saw at local consult this year. You can see up on the slide, we had over 1,400 Kansans at our 8 regional meetings. We brought $8.9 billion worth of projects for consideration and prioritization for our development pipeline. Obviously, there is still a lot of need out there to be addressed. At local consult last fall, we talked a lot about highway improvements, but for the first time ever, we had a breakout room for non-highway modes of transportation. This is important because, as this slide reminds us, not everyone has the ability or desire to drive cars. According to data from the Kansas Department of Revenue, of Kansans aged 15 to 64, 17% of Kansans do not have a driver's license. That's nearly 320,000 Kansans, or roughly 80% of the population of Wichita. And similar to the national trend, among 20 to 24-year-olds, nearly 47,000 don't have a license. That's nearly the population of Salina. Although I was referencing Salina and Wichita, these Kansans live all across our state, in urban areas and rural areas. In order to deliver a transportation system that serves all Kansans, it is essential to prioritize investments in our non-highway modes of transportation. An example is transit. IKE, along with some new federal programs, has allowed us to invest more in our transit infrastructure, which helps citizens make those vital connections to employment, education, medical facilities, grocery, and other necessary functions. This is not just buses in our big cities. It is rural service and specialty transit services, and demand is growing. In 2023, KDOT awarded $13 million through multiple funding opportunities. Those funds helped transport an estimated 6.6 million Kansans in transit facilities. Similarly, we have been able to leverage IKE to bring in more federal dollars to invest in the state system of bike and pedestrian facilities. In 2023, KDOT updated the state's active transportation plan to provide design and implementation guidance to build infrastructure for the people who walk, cycle, or use mobility assistance devices. In addition to the plan, several toolkits and resources that complement the plan and advance the needs of active transportation in local communities are now available. Since IKE was initiated, we have invested $28 million in sidewalks, trails, and paths all across the state through IKE. This new plan makes sure that we are investing those dollars to meet the needs of all users. We also know that from speaking to our community leaders that a strong transportation system is a prerequisite for economic success. Particularly, investments need to consider rail, bridges, aviation, and others to be looking forward as new technologies emerge. KDOT is committed to helping locals address these needs through our local programs and partnering with locals to advance opportunities. I want to talk first, before I get into some of those other programs, I want to talk about the Heartland Flyer. After many years of hard work and grassroots effort, KDOT is in coordination with the Oklahoma DOT and Texas DOT and was awarded $500,000 federal corridor ID grant for the Heartland Flyer. This is an important first step in extending the Heartland Flyer passenger rail service from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma to Newton, Kansas, where it will then connect with the Southwest Chief, a national route on Amtrak's passenger rail network. The Heartland Flyer currently provides daily service between Fort Worth, Texas, and Oklahoma City. This $500,000 grant will fund development efforts and help us work to plan and design this route. After this work is complete, at the end of 2025, we will have a better idea of how much it will cost and what federal opportunities there will be to help fund this critical route. We will also have more information at that time at the estimated cost for operation of this route. Implementation would follow, and we are expecting that to happen somewhere around 2028, 2029. Shortline railroads provide critical links for businesses and agriculture to connect to the system of mainline rail and world markets. We are partnering with our shortline providers to support rail enhancements to expand carload capacities, reduce truck traffic, increase operating speeds, and improve operating efficiencies. These projects strengthen Kansas's agricultural supply chain, connecting our farmers and ranchers to regional, national, and international markets. In 2023, KDOT invested $11 million in 9 projects across the state, making key improvements to rail facilities as well as shipping and supply facilities. In addition, KDOT has leveraged state investment in shortline rail to pursue and win federal grants. In October, 2 shortline railroad companies in Kansas were awarded a combined $47 million as part of the federal bipartisan infrastructure law grants for the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements Grant Program. That's CRISI for short. And really those 2 awards were about making improvements to some routes in southeast Kansas in response to the Bartlett grain facility that is under construction right now to help support that. And then also modernizing a fleet of locomotives, electrifying them, and making more sustainable electrical connections there. It is estimated that Kansas airports provide over $9 billion in economic output annually for Kansas and its communities. In order to meet the needs of Kansas residents, businesses, educational institutions, emergency management, and the traveling public, sustained aviation investments are critical. Currently, the IKE program requires a minimum $5 million a year investment in aviation through the Kansas Airport Improvement Program. In fiscal year 23 and 24, with an increased backlog of requests to the KAIP, we are able to commit over $10 million each year. However, based on conversations with industry, it is apparent that our airports continue to fall behind in critical preservation activities. Therefore, last year, my direction KDOT Aviation, in conjunction with the Kansas Airport Association, conducted a statewide airports facilities inventory and needs assessment to determine airport infrastructure needs in the state and the funding levels necessary to achieve the KAIP goals. Based on the analysis and report from the Joint Task Force, it is apparent that current funding is not adequate to address the short-term and long-term needs for our airports. Without increasing funding, pavement conditions will continue to deteriorate and the opportunity to expand air ambulance services will not be realized. We and our aviation partners look forward to working with the legislature to provide additional airport funding to continue support for this critical part of our transportation system. Similarly, bridges have become an emerging need across the state, especially in the rural parts of Kansas. Although the county roads these bridges are on often carry less traffic than our state highways, our county road bridges are critical to getting crops out of the field to our local elevators. In Kansas, we have more bridges per capita than any other state, with the majority, nearly 80% of them, being owned by our counties. 12,000 bridges, over 12,000 of Kansas bridges, are more than 50 years old. Because of continued support for the IKE program and its inherent flexibility, we have been able to continue to work on the backlog of aging bridges. In 2023, we committed $43 million in state funds to help 35 local bridge projects and have invested nearly $100 million in local bridges since the IKE program began through 2 local bridge programs, the Off-System Bridge Program and the Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Program. Additionally, we continue to invest in our state system of bridges, $130 million in bridge repair and replacement projects for fiscal year 2023 alone. And we try to keep that number of bridges in poor condition to as low as possible. Obviously, these investments enable safe and efficient movement of people and products that power our economy in Kansas. As part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, Congress approved what they call the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, or NEVI for short. We project that Kansas will benefit from an estimated $40 million investment in charging infrastructure over the next 5 years to the NEVI program. Beyond the almost $40 million in formula funds, the law has also authorized an additional $2.5 billion in discretionary grant programs. To access that money, states are required to develop a plan on how to spend NEVI funds to improve charging infrastructure. KDOT was one of the first states to have its NEVI plan approved by the FHWA. As part of the development process, KDOT hosted a statewide telephone town hall for Kansans to learn more about EV charging and share their priorities. Over 1,000 Kansans joined the town hall to give us feedback. Earlier this month, KDOT announced the first awards totaling more than $4.6 million to build out the state's designated alternative fuel corridors. These projects are anticipated to be completed by the summer of 2025. So just a note, EVs still represent a small percentage of the overall number of vehicles registered in Kansas. In 2021, EVs were about 0.13% of all passenger vehicles in Kansas. EV adoption in a large state such as Kansas and building out the charging infrastructure will take time. So increased EV use is coming. We anticipate that, and we are preparing for that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of our local programs. The Cost Share program is one of KDOT's most flexible and popular funding opportunities for communities because it really allows them to apply for a wide range of assistance from highway projects, local road projects, bridges, rails, airports, bicycles, pedestrian, really anything that has to do with transportation fits within the Cost Share program, as long as they can provide at least 15% local cash match. KDOT funds are used exclusively to match construction costs on these projects. In the last 4 years, we have allocated $140 million in funding that has leveraged a substantial amount of local funding in projects across the state. In 2023, we awarded $23 million for 30 projects across the state. Cost Share continues to be a very popular program and oversubscribed. We receive continually more than $50 million of applications for for each of our programs that we put out. And you can see that it is spread all across the state. These projects really, they hit a large breadth of needs in our communities, from very small needs like making ADA ramps more up to date, all the way up to paving roadways. So these are very, very important projects. I want to highlight a couple that have recently been completed. First, in the city of Derby, the South Woodlawn Hike and Bike Trail constructed an 8-foot wide hike and bike trail that connects the southern neighborhoods to the already extensive network of trails in town. This path also provides a multi-use link from an elementary school to amenities such as the Derby Rec Center and the neighborhoods to the south of Chet Smith Drive. In the city of Peabody, improvements have been made to the streets, curb and gutter in front of both the elementary, the middle, and the high school. The new streets prevent large puddles of water that students and families had to walk through and dangerous icy conditions during winter weather. The city and the school district tried for 5 years to separately find a solution, but worked together to apply for a cost share project, and now that project is complete. Another example of KDOT programs that are designed to support growth of our communities is economic development. This program helps fund transportation improvements that will help recruit new businesses and encourage growth of existing businesses in our communities. The Economic Development Program is a flexible funding opportunity, allowing communities to apply for assistance for any transportation improvements that can be shown to support job growth and capital investment in the state. All transportation modes are eligible, including roadway, rail, airport, and public transit, along with a preferred 25% minimum local match. KDOT has been able to fund programs that support local communities and businesses, and our investments are making a difference. As you can see on the slide, it's estimated that $87 million investment in this program over the last 3 years has helped to bring in more than 10,000 jobs for Kansans and has leveraged $2.3 billion in private capital investment in our state. And we know that access to high-speed internet is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. Citizens, businesses, and communities without access to high-speed and high-quality internet connections are in danger of being unable to access economic, education, and work opportunities. Through our Preservation Plus program, KDOT adds on to preservation projects to improve broadband expansion. KDOT is contributing also through investment and partnership with the Office of Broadband and Development to bring high-speed internet access to 27,000 Kansas homes and over 682 miles of Kansas access to high-speed broadband. US 83 is also a critical rural freight corridor for Western Kansas, serving a variety of industries, including agriculture, energy, and livestock. Expanding transportation opportunities along the US 83 corridor will improve economic productivity, as well as the safe and efficient movement of agricultural products and other freight, benefiting everyone who travels along this corridor. A $6.7 million Advanced Transportation and Congestion Management Technologies Deployment Grant from FHWA is leveraging a critical transportation investment to make one of the busiest two-lane freight corridors smarter and bring broadband infrastructure and access to more Kansans. At KDOT, we have embraced a culture of innovation. We look for creative problem solving, desire to use technology when appropriate to extend our reach and better serve our citizens, and recognize continuous improvement as an opportunity to help achieve our mission. I'm going to highlight some of our innovations over the last year that have become out there for everybody to use. The first one is improvements to our CanDrive system, which allows travelers now to find up-to-the-minute road condition on their smartphones. The Kansas Local Infrastructure Planning Tool helps counties in analyzing their transportation infrastructure needs and compare projected funding resources against future costs to maintain that infrastructure. Using this tool, county governments can now make informed decisions when planning for their future needs. And finally, in 2023, KDOT hosted the first ever Innovative Technology Summit in August. The goal of this summit was to promote and share information about KDOT's innovative technology program with transportation industry professionals in the public, private, and academic sectors. The Innovative Technology Program provides financial assistance to governments and non-governmental organizations for innovative transportation-related projects that promote safety, improve access or mobility, and implement new transportation technology. We had over 100 people at our inaugural summit this year, and really what that amounted to was a large increase in applications to this program. We had over $4 million in applications to this program, where prior we had about $1 million total over the first 3 years of the program. So it was actually a very beneficial summit to have. And finally, obviously, talked a lot about the successes that have happened during 2023. I want to point to this as one of the biggest successes. Obviously, we're measured often by the safety of our facilities. I'd just like to point out that in 2023, our fatalities were down on our highways. We were able to drop fatalities by about 7%. And for the first time in about 10 years, we are under 400 traffic fatalities. So that is a great thing. Obviously, it's still a lot of fatalities. There's a lot of improvement that we can do, but the trend is in the right direction. And I will say that a lot of it has to do with messaging. And this is, one of those rare moments where I would like to give credit to the state of Missouri. The Missouri Director of Transportation, Patrick McKenna, came up with this very simple slogan that has really taken hold of the Midwest, and that is, buckle up, phone down. This is a message that each one of us can relate to. I think each one of us see it when we're out driving on the roadways. Too many people not buckled up when they're driving, and obviously too many people with not full attention on the roads. This is a message that I send every time I speak. I try to say these words, and I really think it's such a simple and clear message that the more we say it, the more it just becomes an accepted part of our culture, and it's a necessary part of our culture if we want to keep bringing the number of fatalities down. And another thing that we have been able to do to really drive some of the safety solutions home is we've identified 4 key corridors in the state that just through our analysis could really benefit from some safety improvements. And so we are really kind of throwing everything at these 4 corridors. And the 4 corridors that you see up on the screen are the US 83, US 50 corridor out in Finney County, US 69 corridor in Crawford County, US 24 in Pottawatomie County, and the I-135 corridor in Sedgwick and Harvey counties. And really, we are upping enforcement on these corridors. We are putting more educational campaigns out there, increased signing. We're really throwing a lot at these corridors to help drive down incidents in these areas. We're going to also be studying these corridors to understand what is really being the most effective out there. And we hope to be able to report back and really identify some solutions that we think we can implement to help drive safety solutions all across the state. So that's KDOT in a nutshell. Obviously, a lot to be said there. I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about the IKE transportation program. This slide shows a breakdown of the estimated highway funds for fiscal year 25. Overall, revenues are projected to remain steady in 25 compared to 2024 at $2.2 billion. Sales tax revenue continues to be a key funding source for the State Highway Fund. It is estimated that the State Highway Fund will receive about the same from sales tax revenue in 25 compared to 2024. And as a reminder, sales tax revenue is the one revenue source that is not constitutionally protected. As the larger tax policy is discussed, I just want to remind that any change in sales tax structure can have an impact on highway fund resources and ultimately us being able to invest into our communities. I also want to point out that there is a new source of funding that is up on this slide that has not been there since 2019, and that is bond proceeds. This was always envisioned as part of the IKE program that there would need to be some bonding to be able to deliver And this is the year that we have analyzed through our cash flow that we're going to need to bond to be able to make our cash flow work. And we are anticipating bonding $200 million in 2025. Flipping over to the other side of the ledger, this slide breaks down, is a breakdown by program of KDOT expenditures for fiscal year 25. Construction accounts for 68% of our fiscal year 25 budget. And just for clarification, that number shown on this slide includes our construction lettings, but also the other costs to deliver construction projects like design, construction inspection, and acquiring right-of-way. Several large projects will be let in fiscal year 2025, including the Polk Quincy Viaduct in Shawnee County, US 54 in Sedgwick County, that's East Kellogg, 18th Street Bridge replacement in Wyandotte County, and the first phase of the South Orange Traffic Way project in Douglas County. So as a reset of what the overall program looks like, the IKE program is a 10-year comprehensive transportation program estimated at $9.9 billion. Over half of that program is dedicated towards preservation. And that was really identified as a key point from the legislature that taking care of our existing system should be top priority. So we've done that by investing over half the program in preservation. Modernization expansion of our highway systems are also a large part of the program, nearly 25% of the program. And just for a reminder, modernization expansion projects are those that improve safety conditions out on our highways. So think about adding shoulders, flattening curves, improving geometry, whereas expansion projects are really more about adding capacity to our system. So in rural Kansas, that might look like converting a 2-lane facility to a 4-lane facility or adding passing lanes. In our urban settings, it might be taking a 4-lane freeway to a 6-lane freeway. The IKE legislation also had some very clear priorities and milestones that we were to achieve. I've got those up on the slide here. The first one I want to talk about is delivering at least one phase of each of the delayed T-Works projects. And we were able to do that about 6 months ahead of schedule. In December 2021, we were able to let each of those projects, they are all under construction or we're finalizing construction right now. In addition to that, there were some phases of those delayed T-Work projects that we had not let, but we have committed to letting them and actually committed them to our construction pipeline this last fall. So $50 million worth of projects out in Northwest Kansas on K383 in Norton and Phillips County. And really that is to finalize that corridor, those improvements on that corridor. Regionally, we were required to set up targets for spending for our modernization and expansion programs. And that's what this slide is showing. In each of our 6 regions, we are on target or have achieved those minimum investments. I'm sorry, this is preservation first. Yep. We were not required to set up preservation targets, but knowing that it was going to be important to track how we were investing our preservation dollars all across the state, we did set that up. So the numbers that you see in the middle there is what we've calculated as our minimum 10-year investment to deliver on the program, and what you see on the left is what we've been able to put out to construction to this point. We are on target in every one of our districts to meet our 10-year goals. And now our regional expansion and modernization projects. Like I said, we are required to set up these goals, and we have these publicly out on our website so everybody can see them. You can see that we have already achieved our 5-year targets, our mid-program targets in 2 of our districts. In the other 4, we are on target. I will point to 2 districts in particular in Northwest Kansas and North Central Kansas. We have projects right now that are in our pipeline that are due to be delivered this year and 2025 to meet those mid-program targets. And then we are planning on selecting projects through our development pipeline to fill out and make sure that we're meeting our 10-year targets. So for the first 3.5 years of the program, we've let nearly $2 billion to construction for our preservation project. Man, my slides are out of order. I apologize. I think maybe I'm hitting the wrong button here. There we go. For preservation, we have invested $2 billion in under construction right now, but we're not done. We are continually evaluating our systems. We have another $1 billion of projects already identified and put into our construction pipeline for preservation projects. For modernization and expansion, over $2 billion that we have in our construction pipeline right now. $700 million under construction, actively under construction right now. We added another $350 million to our construction pipeline last fall through several projects, big announcement in the city of Olathe. One of the biggest projects, really, city of Olathe, big improvements to I-35 and Santa Fe and Olathe partnership that we were able to work with the city of Olathe, and they are bringing about $45 million to the table to complete that project. And obviously, we are tracking inflation. What we have seen in 2023 is a flattening of our costs. What I will caution is that costs are not going down. They are just not. They are not going up at the rate that they went from 2020 to 2022. So that's a good sign for us. That helps us manage our projects and our cash flow better. But I just want to make it clear that, except for a couple of bid items, we really don't see prices dropping, and we don't expect prices to drop in the near future. Oops. I'm sorry. There we go. And finally, I just want to talk about some opportunities and challenges. This is a different clicker for me, so I'm working through it here. I'm going to talk about some opportunities. So understanding our challenges enables KDOT to be proactive in response to our challenges. And that means that we will better be positioned to capitalize on opportunities. KDOT is well positioned to leverage federal funding opportunities. We have a solid history in delivering for our federal partners, which makes us an attractive investment for additional federal allocations. And we are proactively seeking out federal funding opportunities through discretionary grants to the federal programs. Transportation is big, and that means prioritizing relationships and partnerships is critical to our success. Our track record of service, program, and project delivery has enabled us to build partnerships. The strength of those partnerships will be critical as we address challenges and look to continuously improve our transportation system. Transportation investments have immediate impact, but we're not just planning for 6 months or even 5 years out. At KDOT, we're looking 20 years forward to help us plan for the future of the system. That means we are planning for generational improvements, generational investments. The example I would say is the Polk Quincy Viaduct, which we're going to be replacing later this year, or starting the replacement on. That project was built in 1962. It lasted multiple generations and served multiple generations of Topekans and Kansans. All of our improvements, all of our investments have that kind of generational impact. And we realize that, understand that, and respect that. So we need to obviously capitalize on our relationships with the communities that these investments will impact long term. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I would be open to questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your testimony today, Secretary. First, I want to say congratulations on the lower fatality rates. It's very important. But I did want to touch on, so I had some constituents up last week, and they drive from Newton to Wichita quite a bit, and that's one of your safety corridors. So they mentioned that they see the signs, but they haven't seen an uptick in law enforcement, and maybe it's just at different times when they're driving. But what specifically? I know you guys said you're gonna study the area. Are you working with local law enforcement? Should there be an uptick in law enforcement there?
Yeah, so I will say it's pretty new right now. But yes, we have partnered with the Kansas Highway Patrol and local law enforcement to increase enforcement on all 4 of those corridors. So yes, I would expect that as the year goes by, that people will start seeing more enforcement out there, more highway patrol cars, more sheriff's officers out there enforcing those corridors.
Very good. I told them that you were coming to testify, so I wanted to ask for Any questions for the secretary from the committee? Representative Hauser.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Secretary, I got a question for you there. Go back to your alternate fuel vehicle slide. So I just looking at something. I just kind of want to see if that. I noticed Cherokee, Kansas. That's in my district. Is that corridor going to be like the 400 corridor?
Yes. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your question. So I think what you're speaking about are priority corridors.
Right.
Yep. So we were required as part of the NEVI program to establish priority corridors. US 400 in the southeast part of our state is one of our identified prioritized corridors, primary corridors that we have to invest in first with these funds before we can invest in other parts of the state.
So is the purpose of that corridor to connect us to I-44 there in Missouri and just kind of help hook us into that bunch there? You know, is that the purpose of that?
Yeah, I think the purpose really is that we know that US 400 serves as a critical corridor for southern Kansas. If you look and extend that corridor further west and how it ties into to 54 and then ultimately 50, that entire 400 corridor is a critical corridor for the southern part of the state, and that's why it was prioritized.
Right. I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Pretty simple one. This one is. We go back to your embracing innovation. We're talking about the smartphone app. I can't read that type so small. Do you have the name of that app, perchance, that we can share with our constituents?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have that on me, but we can get that out there. Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it to you.
Representative Resman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In years past, hiring and retention has been a problem. Has that been improved?
Yeah. As I said in one of my first slides, KDOT is 2,200 strong. If I would have given this report last year, I would have said we were about 2,100 strong. So we have, in some parts of the state, seen upticks in hiring and retention. And so what that has resulted in is about a 5% increase in staffing. Most of that is at our equipment operator and maintenance type positions all across the state. Now, there are some critical parts of the state, especially our urban areas, Kansas City, Topeka, and Wichita, where we are still struggling to hire equipment operators at the rate of pay that we're at. But we have seen an uptick, and I see that as good signs. I'd just like to thank the legislature for continuing to support pay increases for our staff, for all state employees, but in particular to our maintenance folks. It is really meaningful to them.
And you mentioned 200 million in bonds.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I stole his question. You can ask it. I'll go to another one if you want. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned 200 million in bonds, and what will that be for?
So that will be really to help fill out and make sure that we are able to make cash flow requirements for the program. So fiscal year 25, we have a lot of planned lettings. I told you $1.4 billion of projects that we're planning on letting in fiscal year 25. So in order to be able to make our cash requirements, we just have to bond to be able to do that.
Can you keep going? You mentioned I-35 in Santa Fe. I guess they're going to redo that bridge,
yeah,
which was sorely needed. And Olathe was going to contribute $45 million. What's the state's portion? Do you know?
So the state's portion right now, I'll have to get back with you on that, on the exact number.
And you know when that project will? The reason I'm asking is because I have to go to a commerce meeting. So, do you know when that project will be started?
We'll get the schedule for you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And earlier I talked to you about K10, and you mentioned 59th Street to 6th Avenue is the first phase, and then do you know when that'll start?
Yeah. So just as a correct, US 59 Iowa Street.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. That would be the southern extent of the project, all the way up to 6th Street or US 40 on the northern extent of the project. And we anticipate that project letting this summer. So construction will really be going in the summer of 25 and 26.
Okay, and then 6th Street to to
the turnpike.
the turnpike, and when will that happen?
Yeah, so we will let that project a year later, so summer of 2025, fiscal year 26.
Did I say 56 highway? Did I said? That runs through the county too, but never mind.
I don't remember.
Any further questions for the secretary, Representative Hoy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we talked about the local consult in committee in transportation and also here, and I was looking on the website. And is there going to be? How do you put all of that compilation of all of the public input out? And is there ever a presentation done on that? How does that get communicated back?
Yeah, so on our website, there should be a summary document of local consult, what we're able to, what we found, and then we should also have all of the information available. Obviously, we had reams and reams of information available for people to look at. That should be out there right now. We will make sure that you have a link to that.
Thank you. And then, when do you have a timeline or know any time soon when kind of the next pipeline announcements will be?
We're working through that process right now. It'll be sometime this spring.
Awesome. Thank you.
Representative Hauser.
Yeah, that specific, I can't tell you for sure. What I can tell you, a lot of times for those large wind farms and things like that, we often are the last to the table in understanding how they're going to get those loads there. So a lot of times we're more reactive than proactive. We would prefer to know more about that up front so that we can plan for it and understand, how it might impact our roads or our projects. I can have our folks down in the Southeast District give more information on that, though. Yeah.
One more question. I know you get asked almost every time you testify, and I apologize if it was asked last week in transportation when I stepped out, but what's the latest on the road usage conversation?
Yeah. I'd actually like to have my policy director, Joel Skelly, come up because he's really mostly in the know about it.
Please. Yep. Welcome to the committee, Joel.
Thank you, Secretary. Joel Skelly, Director of Policy at KDOT. Yeah, so the latest on the road usage charge study, we started this, I think several of you have heard this before. We started this about 2.5 years ago. It was a 3-year process. We're about 6 months away from completing it. And at that moment, in these last 6 months, we are going to be embarking on an actual pilot operation where volunteers can join in and try out a possible RUC option for collecting road usage mile collection for when they drive. It's something that people can volunteer to do and learn a little bit, and then they'll be also providing us some information about what they think about it and what their experience is. So we're starting to get into the recruitment piece of that here over the next month and a half. That'll be later this spring and summer when we actually do the pilot. So that's something that we'd be happy to come back to you about, give you some more details, because we'll be also reaching out to folks to be seeing if there's interest in joining into that. And there's no cost to them. There won't be any bills provided to them on this. This is all kind of an educational opportunity for both Kansans and KDOT and the legislature when we are able to then provide some reports back on what we've learned.
Very good. I appreciate that. I think Representative Resman has a question.
I have one more question about cashless tolling. I see signs on the highway say it's coming in the summer of 2024. How will that work? If you have a K tag, that will work on that.
Yes.
Or
yeah, and I'd be happy to speak on behalf of the Kansas Turnpike Authority. I'm obviously on the board of directors, but yes, in 2024, the cashless tolling will become effective. If you have a K tag, the K tag will automatically work out there on that system right now. There's a lot of educational material that's coming out to educate you and everybody who uses the turnpike, so that everybody understands what changes are going to be coming with cashless tolling. But really, one thing I would just like to say about it is going to be a huge improvement for the turnpike and really Kansas transportation, because no longer will you have to stop at toll booths. When you're on the turnpike, it's going to feel like just any other highway that you're driving in Kansas, except you're going to get charged, right?
And what happens to the person that doesn't have the K tag?
Yeah. So once again, there's lots of educational materials. There's going to be license plate reader systems also that, excuse me, that will send bills to those folks that do not have K tags.
And that'll be handled by a private company, or will the state,
I'm getting a little over my skis here. I would be happy to connect the turnpike with you to answer any of those questions. Though they have tons of information out there. Yeah.
Any further questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that concludes today. We will not be meeting tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday. We are adjourned.